Hello, good afternoon. I would like to welcome everybody to this COGEN World Coalition webinar in the series COGEN World Talks. And today we will be talking about Japan in focus. We have a presentation prepared by Dr. Shinji of the our member association in Japan, where it's 9 p.m. Tokyo time. But first, we're going to have a few words from the president of the COGEN World Coalition, Tom Smith, who is calling in from Chicago, USA, where it's 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'll hand over to Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Well, thank you, Ben. Good afternoon, I guess, to you. So as you can see from the slide that we have here, it's truly a world webinar. We have early morning here in Chicago, where I am, and late evening or in the evening in Tokyo, where Dr. Shinji is. I just wanted to take a few minutes to sort of introduce everybody to the CWC and just introduce Dr. Shinji and go through a couple clerical events here that are important to have. But as Ben mentioned, I'm the president of the COGEN World Coalition, and I also have the honor to be the president of the Combined Heat and Power Alliance here in the United States. I've been in the industry for a long time, but not as long as CHP has been in existence. I don't know if a lot of people looked on LinkedIn yesterday, but it was Labor Day here in the United States. But one of the other things that we were celebrating was the 141st year of the first COGEN project. We say, people from the US like to think we invented everything, but I think that the first official COGEN project that I'm aware of was put together by Thomas Edison at his Pearl Street station in 1882. So we had a 141st anniversary of that great event. And CHP remains a great technology to produce clean, reliable, efficient, and cost-effective thermal and electric energy. Here in the United States, about 8% of our electric power is produced by combined heat and power, and probably a higher percentage of our thermal energy. But globally, some of the averages are, approach a lot higher values than that. So there's a lot of potential for this great technology as everybody heads into the electric transition, and we're focused on very sustainable and reliable power, as Dr. Shinji will mention in his talk. So one of the lifebloods of any organization is its membership. So if there's any interest in becoming a member of the CWC to help, promote the voice of COGEN on a global level and to have consistency through our member organizations like COGEN Japan, the Combined Heat and Power Alliance here in the US, and many, many others, we sure welcome that. So you can find all that information on our website. This webinar is actually the second edition of A Country in Focus. In our series, we had done an event like this similar for India in July. Obviously, today's webinar is going to be focused on the Japanese market. Our guest speaker, Dr. Shinji, is mentioned as part of our affiliate, Cogeneration Japan. I had a few minutes prior to the call to meet him. I think it'll be a very exciting presentation for everybody to talk about all the great potential that CHP has in the Japanese market. The other thing, if there are any questions as the presentation is going along, please use the chat function, and we'll get those questions answered throughout the presentation and towards the end. And I also would be remiss to not tell the organization for some upcoming events that we have in different markets. One will be focusing on Germany. Obviously, they're going through a major energy transition in that country. That'll be in October or December. And then we're going to have another sort of global report coming out in November this year. So the CWC is doing a lot of great things. And with that, I would love to and have an honor to turn it over to Dr. Shinji. Dr. Shinji, if you can take the screen, that'd be great. I don't know, Dr. Shinji, you may be on mute there, so.
Okay.
Perfect, I hear you great.
We can hear you. Can you also turn your camera on, please?
Camera on, okay.
Yeah, Ben wants to make sure he's looking at you, Dr. Shinji, throughout the presentation.
Okay. Can I start? Okay.
You can't see, you don't have a start video. Can you start video? Is that so then we can see you?
Start video.
Yeah, he just wants you to turn your camera on, Dr. Shinji, while you're presenting.
The host stopped the video.
Yeah, just say start video, you'll be fine. And it'll still share your screen.
Okay. The sign said that the host
Okay. I will
okay.
find a way to solve that.
All right. I tried to start the video, but the host stopped the video. Okay. All right.
You're back. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that. You're free to go. You're welcome to start, is what I mean.
Okay. I'll start. Good evening. Good morning from the United States. Good afternoon, the Europe. Good evening, Japan. This is my great honor to be here and to be able to give a presentation for CHP. I hope that making people aware of the status of the CHP in Japan toward achieving carbon neutrality and changing information with the rest of the world. It will be useful to make better use of CHP. First, the content of today's webinar. The first, I explain the basics of CHP. Next, I will introduce you to the current role of CHP in Japan. From there, I will discuss how the CHP is providing value beyond reducing energy consumption. Then, I will look at the role of CHP achieving carbon neutrality. At last, I will introduce you to micro fuel cell CHP, an interesting related technology. CHP system achieve high efficiency by utilizing waste heat, which is usually converted into steam in industrial use. Japan runs mainly north to south and therefore has distinct summer and winter climates. For example, the temperatures in Tokyo range from 35 degrees in summer and down to 0 degrees in winter. Both heating and cooling are important and benefit when utilizing waste heat in a CHP system. This is the Japan compared with Europe and the United States. Japan's area at 378 square kilometers is slightly larger than Germany and slightly smaller than California. Japan spans many degrees of latitude and surrounded by both tropical and cold water currents. The climate is quite varied. The next. In Japan, it is common to operate CHP without reverse power. In other words, excess generation is rarely sold back to the local utility. The reason why are related to the price of the power and the technical requirements for the grid interconnections. The price of utility is required to pay is rather low, making it uneconomic for the generator. In contrast, PV output is more economic. The second reason is the technical requirements for the supplying power to the grid. CHP's reverse power are required to install islanding protection units to prevent power from the flowing back to the grid during an outage. Doing this is a rather complicated and expensive, while the CHP unit is installed locally and is not feeding power into the grid. A simple reverse power relay is all that is required to prevent the reverse power. Since the overproduction of the CHP is uneconomic, the units are usually smaller than the load. They serve generally about the one-third of the peak demand of the facilities. This is the example of the demand and output of the CHP. The blue line shows the demand of the facility, and the red line shows the output of the CHP. The output of the CHP is usually smaller than the demand of the facility. Now I show you the installation of CHP in Japan. The accumulative capacity of CHP is about 13 gigawatts, which is about 5% of Japan's total generation of capacity. Let's look at the total capacity. Total capacity of the CHP in 2022. About 80% of the industry, about 80% for industry use, and 20% for the commercial use. The red line is industrial, and the blue line the commercial. If we look at the breakdown of installed units, about the 30% is industrial and the 70% the commercial. That is because the industrial load requires larger CHP units. Industrial CHP are usually in the 2 to 5 megawatt range, while commercial units are in the 0.2 to 0.5 megawatt range. This is the capacity, and this is the unit number. The next, this is the industry breakdown by sector. Of course, the utilizing waste heat is integral to CHP, and so sectors that consume a lot of heat are most suitable for CHP. The chemical, food, pulp and paper sectors are good for example. The pulp and paper industry has used CHP for over 100 years. The pulp factory generates electricity by combusting a pulp byproduct known as black liquor. The steam is produced to used for drying paper. This is the sector. This is the capacity. This is the number of units. Next, I show you the share of this capacity by commercial sectors. This is the sector breakdown for commercial CHP. Hospital hospital use heat for cleaning and disinfecting medical equipment. DHC, district heating and cooling, of course, they consume a lot of heat. So it is advantageous to connect CHPs. This is a commercial sectors for capacities by commercial sectors. This is a unit number of units for the commercial sectors. Third, the new values of CHP rather than energy saving. Energy arbitrage is variable tool for consumers who are looking to cut costs and reduce their environmental impact. In the past, the price of electricity used to be constant regardless of the season and the time of the day or the available supply of electricity. Now, Japan Electric Power Exchange, or JEPX, runs a wholesale electricity market, and the price of power now varies with the supply and demand. More recently, the capacity and the balancing market have been established, so there are more ways for electricity producers to create revenue. Each generator or DR, demand response resource, can look to maximize both operating and economic efficiency. The electricity is used capacity market, energy market, and balancing market. We have to maximize the revenue by using these markets. Next, how to run the CHP during an outage. During an outage, CHP can supply power independently from the grid. As I mentioned, running CHPs without reverse power is common. Since a CHP unit might be powering 1/3 or half of the facility, the operator of an islanded CHP needs to choose which loads are the most important to supply. And in fact, it is rather difficult to choose which loads are essential, and running wiring is complicated as well. Regarding fuel reserves, gas has an advantage over oil. An oil-fired plant is limited by the capacity of an on-site oil tanks. Gas-fired CHP will run as long as the pipeline is delivering gas. And first, the role of CHP to achieve carbon neutrality. Energy conservation is one of the most important benefits for the CHP. Of course, the renewable energy is key to achieve carbon neutrality. CHP saves energy by producing electricity and utilizing waste heat. And the coordination with the renewable energy. And increasing penetration of renewable energy, such as photovoltaic and wind, reduces a proportion of large-scale thermal power plants. This increases fluctuations between capacity and the load, and the ability to provide balancing power gets smaller. CHP can start and stop quickly and easily modulate output, so it is useful as an element of balancing power. In addition, CHP can provide inertia to the grid. This is important as inertia will be short supply as the share of renewables increases. And this is I'll show you the adoption of the carbon-free fuels. CHP can supply decarbonized electricity and heat by using decarbonized fuel such as e-fuels, biomass fuels, ammonia, or hydrogen. Such decarbonized fuels are still uneconomic, so the energy efficiency will be important for the foreseeable future. Finally, I will show you the development and the introduction of the micro CHP fuel cell. Let's look at the micro fuel cell CHP, which is Japan's branded the name NFAM. We have two types of fuel cells: PEFC, polymer electrolyte fuel cell, and SOFC, solid oxide fuel cell. SOFC has higher efficiency and lower waste heat recovery efficiency than the PEFC. So the SOFC has a smaller hot water tank. As for the number of installation, for over 40,000 units are introduced every year, and the cumulative units are 480,000 as of 2022 fiscal year. This is the appearance of the NFAM, or micro fuel cell unit. The height is about 1.6 meters. This is Panasonic made, and FC and hot water tank. This larger unit is fuel cell. The smaller one is hot water tank. I don't know. The smaller one is the smaller one is fuel cell, and the larger one is hot water tank. This is ISIN. This is SOFC. This is smaller. The height is 1.2 meters. The FC, fuel cell, and hot water tank. The Kyocera, this is much more smaller. This is a fuel cell, and this is the hot water tank. I show you the recent developments of the fuel cell. I'd like to tell you about some recent development of NFAM. The system now have internet connectivity, and the NFAM can receive the weather forecast. If the probability of an outage the probability of an outage is high, NFAM is ready to disconnect from the grid in advance and run standalone if there is an outage. And the generation plan can be made based on the predicted PV generation and weather. They have now integrated an electric heater. If the gas supplies are cut, the electric heater can provide hot water. This also means that the hot water tank can be downsized. And Panasonic has reduced their tanks from 130 liter to 100 liter. And next, the smartphone application is available. it can be controlled by monitored remotely. Energy efficiency is increasing. Energy efficiency increasing. It's about the efficiency is 40 to 41%, 47 to 50%. And finally, reliability has increased. The Kyocera reduced the number of parts by 45%, which is also reduced installation footprint by 20%. So I show you some example cases of CHP introduction. One is industrial case, and the other is commercial case. Both are the best performing CHP in Japan. Let's look at the Kiyohara Smart Energy Center in Tochigi, which is approximately 50 kilometers north from Tokyo. The area north from Tokyo have developed more industrial areas in recent years. The Kiyohara Smart Energy Center consists of 3 companies that operate 7 facilities. One is a food producer, the second is an optical instrument company, and the third is a pharmaceutical company. The 3 companies have different road curves that together, 3 different road curves that together to create a level consists of a load curve. The center introduced a 35 megawatt CHP system via their own power lines and heat conduit. Consequently, energy and CO2 is reduced by 20% compared with a conventional gas turbine. The region has a lot of thunderstorm that often brings outages. The CHP system has an ability to black start and run as a standalone unit. Lightning is common in the region in summer, and power outages are often caused by thunderstorm. If the weather forecast indicates that there is a high probability of lightning, the operation is switched to standalone operation in advance to advance being affected by the power outages. So this is the outlook of the Kiyohara Smart Energy Center. This is Tochigi Prefecture. It is about 50 kilometers from Tokyo. So the Smart Energy Center consists of 6 units of gas engine, about 6 megawatt times 6 gas engines. The electricity supplied to the factories, R&D centers, or the office, or the 7 facilities. Also, the waste heat and the boiler produces steam to provide these factories. Next, finally, I show you the example of the commercial use of CHP. Let's look at the commercial example. That's called the 46 Smart Energy Center. It's in Hokkaido. It's on the northern end of Japan. The 46 in the name is related to the facility's address. The latitude of Hokkaido is about that of Corsica in Europe, or the northern part of the US from Oregon to New York. Hokkaido is rather cold area, and utilized waste heat is useful. The waste heat from the energy center is directed under local load. The waste heat from the energy center is directed under local loads to melt snow and ice during the long winter. The gas engine CSP feeds the district heat and cooling network to utilize waste heat. In addition to the utilizing waste heat, the heat pump utilize the geothermal heat, and the solar heat collectors are about 40% efficient, which is about 2 or 3 times higher than the photovoltaic cells. So the 46 energy center consists of rather small 2 times 300 kilowatt gas engines. The electricity is supplied to gymnasium and condominium and fitness center. Also, the waste heat is utilized. So this is all for my presentation. I hope that this presentation will help to spread the CHP around the world. CHP will get more important than the era of carbon neutrality. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shinji. That was a great presentation. Ben, I'm noticing that there's some questions in the Q&A
Okay.
side. Ben, is there a way to get those answered? What do you think?
Okay, I answer the questions, each questions. Okay?
Excellent.
Okay. What is annual gigawatt requirement for the number of units? What is annual? We're doing that. What is annual requirement?
I think, Dr. Shinji, what they may be asking there is, what do you think the potential for the market is in Japan for CHP?
What is the potential? Okay. Just a moment. About potential はあれか。20万キロだね。20万だから、20万キロワット。20万キロ。Just a moment. 20万キロワットだから、待って。200、待って。100万、0.200万だよね。だから、
キロワット、1000キロワットは1ギガですよ。メガワット。200万メガワット。
いやいや、ちょっと待って。
200メガワット。
200メガワット。I think the potential for the Japanese CHP is about 200 megawatt for each year.
200 megawatts a year?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yes. As I mentioned, that the installation capacity is fluctuates year by year. For example, after the great earthquake in 211, there is the installation. After that, the installation of CHP grew up greatly because people wanted to install the CHP for the to have a benefit for standalone use to have a to secure the electricity during the outages. So on an average, the potential for the CHP is about 200 megawatts for each year.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Shinji, the next question came in. What kind of conditions and environment drive CHP in Japan? I think you sort of mentioned that from the ability to use thermal energy when things you need it for heating and cooling, or in the industrial for drying, like you mentioned in the paper industry. Anything else you want to add on that question?
Yes. That question is about what drive the CHP?
Correct.
What kind of conditions? Yes. In Japanese, especially in the big city in Tokyo or Osaka, so almost all the CHP is driven by gas. That is because on the other hand, the diesel engine is not installed so much. That is because issue of emission. So the Japanese CHP, especially the gas-driven CHP, is installed much in the large cities of Tokyo or Osaka.
Perfect.
Yes.
The other question came in, and I think you highlighted this, that there are a number of prime movers that are looked at, from engines to turbines, integrating with microgrids where you might have solar and batteries. Any other thing to comment on what are the prime movers for CHP plants in Japan?
What the prime is, of course, what the prime movers of the CHP plants recently the gas engine is the most big prime movers of CHP plants, because it used to be the gas turbine, but the gas engine has a very high efficiency of generating, over 40% or nearly 50%. So that is in one sense that is higher than the fuel cell. So the gas engine efficiency is very high. So that almost all CHP nowadays the prime mover is gas engines.
Well, that's very near and dear to my heart, Dr. Shinji, since I work with Caterpillar and the gas engine side. So
Nice.
That's good to hear.
Awesome.
The next question is sort of along the same lines, is for CHP applications with engines, what are you looking at to reduce CH4 emissions from these gas engines? I can comment a little on that too when you're done.
Okay, that's I don't know for CHP application with.
Maybe as you're looking at that, Dr. Shinji, I know being on the gas engine side, I think the question is, just reducing emissions. Obviously, as an industry, the gas engine manufacturers are working to reduce emissions on all products that we have, whether it's internal engine design or after treatment to reduce emissions. Then, as you know, there's a look with sort of very low carbon fuels or zero carbon fuels, such as hydrogen and other fuel technologies, which would reduce the overall emissions of the plant. Maybe a personal question for you, Dr. Shinji, is I've seen in different commercials and things that Japan is looking at potentially hydrogen. Is there any comment there on using alternate fuels, relative to producing electric power in CHP systems in Japan?
Of course, that as I mentioned, that the gas engines, gas turbines were ready to adapt hydrogen, ammonia as a decarbonized fuels. So of course, nowadays the methane is the main fuel for the CHP, but in the future we will use such e-fuels.
Excellent. The last question that, well, maybe not, maybe there's another one here at the end, that was brought up was when you were talking about the energy arbitrage and the balancing the markets, relative to demands that occur. The question is, are there different types of CHP systems that can ramp up faster than others and can support the market better?
What type of CHP is good for balancing market? Or is it CHP creative equal? What does CHPs ramp up first? Of course, the first the better, but as the balancing market so far doesn't need so much speed, so much speed. So the balancing market so far to utilize CHP for the balancing market so far, it doesn't need so much ramp up speed. So but in the future, in the future, the faster ramp up speed gas engine will be needed, but so far it is not needed.
Yeah, Dr. Shinji, I know, like in markets here in the United States, depending upon whether you're providing peak capacity or frequency support, it depends on what market activity you're going after relative to how quickly the equipment needs to respond to, those types of signals. So I'm sure that's some of the same things that Japan is facing and will be facing in the future. The last question that was here, what kind of certifications are required to connect a CHP system to the grid? Is there any special requirements, maybe grid code or other things that you might be seeing in Japan for grid-connected CHP?
Yes, we have a grid code. The grid code is made by the electric power utility company, but sometimes it is very strict. So now we cogeneration developer talk with them to make it less strict. So we have a grid code which is made by the electric power company.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, great. I think that answered all the questions that I saw in the chat. Maybe one last question that I had, Dr. Shinji. How does the government of Japan feel about cogeneration, and are there going to be incentives to promote more cogen in Japan, or what are your thoughts there about the sort of the regulatory and policy position relative to cogeneration?
Okay, that's a very important thing that the Japanese government thinks that cogeneration is one of the tools to reduce to have a to reduce the energy use, but we have less subsidies compared with about 10 or 20 years ago. So the subsidy is applied for not only energy saving, but also the energy saving and resilience, or smart energy network or something. Some not only subsidies is applied applied on energy saving and resilience, or some multiple values. So that we have subsidy, we have subsidies from the government, but it is not only for the energy saving, only energy saving from the CHP, but the subsidies for the multiple values for the CHP.
Excellent. I know a lot of different areas of the world, like where I reside in the United States, where there have been subsidies that have come out from the federal government under our what we call IRA, or Inflation Reduction Act, as well as states and locals. So it's good to see that other countries are adopting similar type of incentives and support for the market. Ben, I know you're sort of running the show here. It looks like we finished a couple minutes early. Is there anything else we need to cover?
Once yes, you've dealt with all the questions, so I think that we're okay to end if you would like to end the webinar.
Yes, Dr. Shinji, is there any last minute thoughts you might have before we end? We sure all appreciate the presentation, and obviously presenting at the late hour. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, everybody, thank you for attending the webinar. Looks like we'll give you 10 minutes back in your day. So we sure appreciate it, as the COGEN World Coalition and COGEN Japan and all the other members for participating. And like we had here, celebrating the 141st anniversary of CHP, hopefully we'll have another 141 years and longer of growth in the CHP industry. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. India.